The very first seed of Avatar was a dream I had when I was in college about an amazing forest that was bioluminescent. And I got up afterwards. I was so inspired by the dream, I started sketching it in oil pastel, colored pencils and so on. And years later, in '95, I started to incorporate that concept into a story.
You are not in Kansas anymore.
That took place on another planet.
You are on Pandora.
Avatar was going to be my next picture after Titanic.
Jim had written what he calls a scriptment. Think of it as a novella with certain scenes broken out into dialogue. It was about 100 pages long and under high security.
This was 95, and that Cameron's dream wouldn't come to fruition until 09. To say the project was ahead of its time, well, take that literally.
I was told that it was premature. Avatar was meant to absolutely push the envelope of visual effects with realistic, human, emotive characters, and the main characters would all be in CG, and the world would be in CG. We weren't going to be able to do this for a while, so I shelved it, but I knew CG wasn't going to stop it. All the other companies and all the other directors were going to continue to push it. So I knew it was only a matter of time before it became mature enough as an art that we could begin the Avatar process.
By the early 2000s, that time had come, with one movie in particular sparking Cameron's confidence.
I started seeing things that looked like they were pretty damn good. I'm watching The Lord of the Rings, the second one, and Gollum really came forward as a character that I thought, wow, they're doing it. Great examples of character facial animation done with CG. Peter Jackson had really kind of pushed his team to break through in that. So I thought, all right, maybe it's time to start this.
I want to blow people away with something they've never seen before.
So I went to 20th Century Fox and said, all right, guys, I need you to put up $10 million to prove we can make this movie. And they said, basically, are you nuts?
The $10 million he needed was to start building a technology that didn't even exist at the time. Not to start making the movie, only to test if it was even possible.
I said, it's either that or you're going to greenlight a $200 million movie and not know whether we can do it or not. So what would you prefer? They said, here's $10 million. I'm into this, okay?
We took Jim's scriptment and developed it into a script. We developed the world, we designed characters, and we did a prototype test where we took a scene from Avatar and brought in 2 actors and performed that scene. Even then, after we showed them, 20th Century Fox was very hesitant about making the film.
The head of 20th Century Fox, who shall remain nameless for purposes of this discussion, said, pretty good. Is there any way that we can get out all this kind of hippie tree hugging?
I would say it was common wisdom, at least prior to Avatar, that you didn't do that.
You don't put political messages.
Yeah, especially environmental messages. It was death. If it got out that there was an environmental message to this film, it would cost us 50% of our box office. That would be the classic thinking on it. Look, it's a legitimate concern.
Cameron refused to patch, and Fox still wasn't willing to take the risk, so they passed on the film. But one of the most powerful antidotes to unrequited love is jealousy.
We even explored doing Avatar with another studio, Disney, in fact.
And after Disney came close to buying it, Fox decided to exercise their right to first refusal. Not only did they buy the film, they also gave it a $237 million budget. Just to put that in perspective, the budget for each of the Lord of the Rings film was $93 million.
We ended up making the movie with Fox, but it was not easy.
Not easy is an understatement. It was an attempt to pull off something that had never been done before in cinema. Even casting was a puzzle. Originally, Cameron wanted Matt Damon as the lead.
Jim Cameron called me. He offered me 10% of Avatar. But I was in the middle of shooting The Bourne Ultimatum. He said to me, this movie doesn't need you. It doesn't need a movie star at all. The movie's the star. So if you don't do it, I'm going to discover some new guy and put him in. And he wanted to shoot during our post-production, and we always needed more work in our post-production. I told him I couldn't walk away from this thing that I'd spent all these years doing, and And he was really great about it. He really celebrated that decision. So at least I got a pat on the back from Jim Cameron.
Not only did he turn down the chance to work with one of the greatest directors ever, but the 10% he would have earned would have been worth almost $300 million.
There were three young actors, nowhere kind of in their career at the time. I had to choose between them. One of them was Channing Tatum. Channing did well. It could have been Channing Tatum. Sam was the one I kept going back to, and the studio disagreed. The Fox guys liked the other guys better.
Getting the job, this was the first toughest because I'm an unknown Australian. So Jim had to back us.
Worthington was also living out his scar at the time, so landing the lead in a James Cameron's movie might change his life a little bit.
I mean, Sam, it was almost first glance. I knew this is a tough guy. This is an old school tough guy. He also had great sort of power in his voice that could, get people to rise up and follow him into the hell of battle. That guy I would follow into hell. But he also had this great kind of vulnerability, almost like a little boy at times. I am so pumped about this. I feel it, and when I feel it, it's going to be good. I haven't had this kind of connection between the actor and the role since I said Arnold and Terminator. The thing, there's a vulnerability to him,
Fox, however, still wasn't convinced.
I have the argument from authority on my side. I wrote the damn character.
Cameron fought the studio for 8 months straight until they finally agreed. And Worthington, he moved out of his scar.
He's changed my life completely.
Whether the movie failed or succeeded depended heavily on motion capture, the technology that records actors' movements and turns them into digital animation. Cameron and his crew worked tirelessly to fine-tune it, and to say the work paid off, well.
The first thing I saw of Jake as an avatar was horrible. It was dead, it was off, it wasn't Sam. And I thought, oh my God, we've done everything right. And this is what it looks like. We had to still make a quantum leap forward in the way the facial performance was done, because we still weren't seeing kind of humanoid facial performance that looked real enough for me emotionally. The amount of data that you need to create a face is probably an order of magnitude more than what you need to recreate the body. So they were in a very compromised scenario where their cameras were forced in very close to the actors and still not really close enough to get true performance. I didn't want to give that much of it to the animators. I wanted to be able to look the actors in the eye and say, what you do right now on the set is what it will be. Just be blue and 10 feet tall.
Cameron ended up enlisting help from Weta Workshop, the same company that had Ring Gollum to life.
When I saw what Peter Jackson did with The Lord of the Rings, I said, okay, you can do a character. Now let's see what it's going to take to do multiple characters, thousands of shots, with pages and pages of dialogue, and have it be completely real. We did an image-based system where we actually mounted a camera on the actor's head with a tiny camera on the end of it, and that imaged the face. And it sounds ridiculously simple, but of course it's what you do with that image that is the complex part. Even though the actor's moving all around, running, jumping, yelling, screaming, jumping off stuff, but whatever, we're getting that facial performance absolutely locked off. And from that, you can extract everything, the eye movement, the lips, the tongue against the teeth, which is critical to the forming of certain sounds. We saw our first scene back from Weta Digital. It was a scene where Neytiri's out in the woods and sees Jake for the first time and raises her bow. And it was maybe 30 seconds, and Jim and I watched it. We both felt, wow, this is gonna work. If you could ever, for example, see a side-by-side image of a video of what the actor did in the moment and then their final rendered character, it's 100% one-to-one. I'll never forget screening the film for the cast. So their eyes were wide open and they were just riveted the whole time because they saw their work. They saw themselves. I think they might have been a little bit skeptical up until then. I don't think they realized what we had done. The most exciting thing about it is the totality of creating an entire world. We're not just going into a location and modifying it. Our artists had to design every blade of grass, every plant, every vehicle, every costume.
It's funny how today technology is so advanced. It's hard to distinguish the lazy from the sublime.
I think there would be a lot of fans who would be surprised when I told you we never went to a rainforest to film any of the scenes on Pandora. No exterior scene on Pandora was shot on location. It was all done through digital technology.
And all that work was only compounded by the length of the movie.
That whole idea of the 3-hour film, do you know whether audiences like that?
The only sort of reference point we had back in those days was Dances with Wolves, which was, which won Best Picture, and it was 3 hours and 10 minutes. But historically, films that length, it just didn't work. And it wasn't until Titanic that we actually had a film that we believed worked at that length. To create fantasy with a sense of reality, you have to embellish it with a lot of detail.
After a pre-release screening of the film, a key Fox executive had the phone to pick with Cameron. Furious with the movie's long runtime, he marched into Cameron's office.
You called me. What is it you want to talk about?
The exec demanded he shorten it. Cameron's response: I think this movie is going to make all the f***ing money. And when it does, it's going to be too late for you to love the film. The time for you to love the film is today. So I'm not asking you to say something that you don't feel, but just know how I will always know that no matter how complimentary you are about the movie, in the future when it makes all the money, not some of the money, all the f***ing money, you can come back to me and compliment the film or charm along and say, look what we did together. At that point, that particular studio executive flipped out and went shit on me, and I told him to get the f***ing out of my office, and that's where it was left. Avatar has done what no other film could do in the past 12 years, sink Titanic's box office bounty, topping $1.8 billion worldwide.
Because we didn't imagine that we would blow past Titanic like we did.
And after just 19 days, Avatar grossed $1 billion at the global box office, the first to ever do it. The film to this day is the highest grossing ever. But this video isn't about the financial milestones or the awards. You think Cameron cares?
I've already got an Oscar, I've got a couple of them, but I don't really need another one.
The ultimate flex is conquering an entire new frontier of cinema, taking a dream and making the seemingly impossible come to life.